Okay, let's get started. I'll introduce myself. My name is Omar. We've also got Tony on the line here as well. Say hello, Tony.
Hello, guys.
Hi. Tony and myself are the advisors, consultants, and for the blockchain side of things, and also the project managers of this beautiful project, Immunify.life. We've been working with Guy since 2017, the last bull run. And I've been developing this ever since. Of course, Guy's got more experience in this. We've also got Diego, who is John Galt, on this conversation. Say hello, Diego. A little bit about you.
Hello, guys. John Galt. This is Diego.
Brilliant. And then, of course, we've got the CEO here, Guy.
Hi, everybody, and I'm really looking forward to giving you a little bit of information about Immunify.life. I'm very excited about the project. I've been working on it in various forms for about 5 years now, and I'm really, really happy that we're finally getting traction and we're getting to the point where we've got some tech and we're ready to start trying the technology in the real world. So, looking forward to telling you more about it.
Totally. No, I'm very excited about this as well. I mean, it's been a long time coming, and the team have been working really hard. Yourself, Guy, endless nights, working on weekends, and it's finally getting there. We're getting that traction, and we've got a lot of stuff coming up. So very excited about everything. So let's just get started here. I think we're going to just do, as I said, a bit of an introduction into Immunify.life, but then also into your vision, Guy, and yourself. Let's get a bit of background information, because I know a lot of cryptocurrencies and projects, they're protocols, they're small little tech add-ons here, there, and everywhere. But we're building a big, robust ecosystem that is trying to re-energize healthcare. So it's much bigger than just being simply a tech company. We're rolling out, and this is robust. So just give us a bit of a background on you and your experience in healthcare. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Omar. I've been in healthcare my whole life. I actually studied medicine long ago, and then I worked for big multinational pharmaceutical companies. I've traveled and worked around the world. I've been to more than 50 different countries, and it's there that I started realizing that there's a big difference between life and the living standards in first world countries, let's say, versus other countries. And that's where I started developing the passion for being able to make a difference. And that's why we have Immunify.life now. And my goal and the vision for the organization is really to use blockchain technology to improve the lives and health of people who are less fortunate than us. And I'm not a crypto expert. I'm a healthcare expert, but I've got a great team of advisors and really good partnerships in place that are going to take us to the global stage and really make a difference.
And I mean, you've already got experience on the ground, don't you, in some of these third world emerging countries?
Yeah, I've done a lot of work. I've traveled extensively in Africa over the last 5 years, meeting with all sorts of government heads, NGO leaders. In Cameroon, for example, I spent 2 weeks traveling through the jungle, going to tiny little clinics. One had a leprosy ward in it even, and I was testing technology using mobile phone signals that were like 3G signal, all sorts of things. So, and it was based on that we've got the final product, based on all the research and all the conversations. That's has led us to the point now where we've got a system that's ready to go and ready to be trialed.
Yeah, great, very exciting. So that leads us to Immunify.life and why Immunify.life. Let's go to this way. What is the problem out there? What is the problem, and what is Immunify.life going to solve with that problem?
Yeah. Actually, that's a good way of looking at it. Actually, because it is it is a problem. I guess it starts really from the fact that a lot of the poorer countries in Africa, Asia, and South America, they just don't have the financial resources. In European and America, Australia, countries spend 5 to 10% of their GDP on health. And in places in Africa, for example, they might be spending 1% or less. And they just don't have money to fund infrastructure, to buy the drugs they need, to train the staff they need, or to have the systems to manage healthcare. And so they end up in this cycle where they're relying very heavily on international donors to give them the medicines that they need. because a lot of people in Africa are dying needlessly. There are drugs available to treat all the diseases: tuberculosis, HIV, malnutrition. They can all be treated, but because of the lack of resources and the systems to deliver the care, you see the huge discrepancy in life expectancies. In Australia at the moment, if you're born right now, your life expectancy is 90. If you are unlucky enough to be born in Cameroon, in terms of your life expectancy, it's around 60. So
Right.
the thing that really saddens me is that a lot of that is preventable. And so this is where modern technology can come in and play a great role in not only helping manage these patients better, but giving donors and other organisations the confidence to have the data so that they can see where their investments are going, so that as they can see better results, they'll invest more money.
Right.
So that's sort of broadly the landscape. So that explains that they don't have the resources and they're not investing the money. But underneath that, there's another level of challenges. They rely primarily on paper-based systems. So it's very hard to track and manage patients and their outcomes. They also have issues with identifying themselves. I mean, in Africa, there's often a naming convention is you have a first name and you're named after the village where you were born. So you might have multiple people with the same name, and often they don't have birth certificates, or they don't even have bank. A lot of them are unbanked as well. They don't have access to financial services. So proving someone's identity and then being able to track their health over time is a real issue. Another major problem they have is a shortage of healthcare workers. It's very hard to find and train nurses in remote communities. And so even if you have got the medications there, often they don't have the infrastructure or they don't have the people there who can manage the healthcare. And the other sad part is that because these countries are poor and the salaries and wages might be between $2 to $5 US a day, for a lot of these people, you can imagine that corruption, the temptations are there. And so not just at the government level, but individuals, to go doctor shopping, collecting drugs and selling them on the black market is sometimes the difference between eating a meal and not eating a meal for some of these people.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of things going on there that all conspire against healthy outcomes and survival. And when we're talking about COVID, for example, probably for our listeners, you would have heard about fake drugs being, made available and fake vaccination certificates. These just add to the complexities and the challenges that the people in emerging economies face.
Yeah, a lot of stuff there. And I guess with the counterfeit as well, you lightly touched on that with the drugs and the supply chain. You do have patients or even doctors. I remember you saying at one point where some of the patients would actually come back again with another identification to get prescribed the same drugs so they can sell those drugs on the black market. And even the doctors themselves that haven't got the credentials, that are working close to these drugs, are able to sell this on the black market. So there's a big need here for identification and verification, supply chain, blockchain technology. So there's lots of elements on this project. So just lightly touching on that. So Immunify.life, we have the problem there. How is Immunify.life solving this?
Yeah, well, I think it all starts with the technology. So we've what I might do is just walk through the process. So imagine you're in a little clinic somewhere in an hour out of Yaoundé, which is the capital of Cameroon. At the moment, you would turn up and you just your record would be captured on a piece of paper, and that piece of paper would go nowhere. No one would even know who you were necessarily. What's going to happen with our system is the patient will turn up. The healthcare worker will have a smartphone which is connected to the mobile phone signal. And the first thing that happens is critical data is collected. So we almost KYC the patient. So we confirm their identity. We have the capability for the system to take a picture of the identification documents, to capture even a picture of the patient themselves, and 2 or 3 different pieces of information so that we can cross-tabulate and really make sure we know who we're talking to. The second thing we do at the time is we record the batch numbers of the vaccine itself. so that you may or may not know that every drug that's produced has got their own sort of a unique identifying batch number. So we can capture that, and then it can be compared against databases. So you know two things. You know that who you were talking to as a patient, and you also know that you are what actual drug you are delivering. So you've got those two key pieces of information. So once that data is captured and stored on blockchain, and I love the application of blockchain here because you're using it, it's immutable, it's time-stamped, it can't be forged, and it can't be tampered with. So you've got an indestructible record there that's going to be permanent. And so once the patient's in the system, then the system is automated to help the system and improve outcomes. So the patient, first thing they do is they get an SMS explaining the system to them and giving them a chance to give their consent for their de-identified data to be shared. And de-identified means it doesn't have anything to do with the actual patient's identity, anything to do with where they live, anything like that. But the rest of it, the medical data, is available to be shared. And then the system also is able to make appointments. So, for example, with COVID, it'll schedule the second follow-up visit and send SMS reminders to them about when to turn up. So that's really the building block. That's the cornerstone of the whole program, is getting accurate data, as accurate as you can, and from there, the rest of the process evolves. Right.
And then, so what else? And now for those, let's just say the end user that comes in at is there a fee there? Is it?
Yeah, no. Well, that's the thing. The great thing about it is there's a couple of really cool features about it. The first point is we don't charge for the system. There's no cost to end users. If we want wide-scale adoption of this system, you can't be charging patients. You can't be charging hospitals, doctors, clinics for this. In previous iterations of the business, I did get governments to agree to buy systems, and I was the first contract we had was in the Congo with the health minister there, and it was quite a large amount of money, $5 or $6 million, just for a small scale pilot of software. But the problem was we couldn't get agreement with them to pay for it on an ongoing basis, and the NGOs and funders were reluctant to do that as well. So we realised for any system to get wide-scale adoption, it needs to be delivered at no cost. And there's no hardware either. So basically all they need to do is have mobile phones and access to a mobile phone signal, and that's all there is. So that's one key part of it. The other parts which are really interesting is the use of token rewards to drive desired behaviour. As far as I know, this is probably the first time this has been done, but at the time the patient's enrolled, they get the opportunity to get issued with a crypto wallet, and there's an app there which allows them to check the balance of the tokens, number of IMM tokens they've got, and they can also then deploy them to buy firewood, clothes, food, or petrol, whatever they need. So we'll talk probably a little bit later about that, but we are going to conduct clinical work to actually scientifically evaluate the impact of token rewards on behaviour change. So that's one. And the other bit, which I think is really good, is using NFTs. Now, you would have all be familiar with NFTs and seen the prices they're getting for artwork on NFTs. What we want to do is use them in a different way, and that's to create a vaccination certificate. So when you've got the identity of a patient confirmed and you've got the batch number of the drug there, you've got the capabilities to then create an NFT, which is stored in the person's phone, so that when they want to travel overseas for work, or they want to get a job in an industry that requires it, they have immutable, unarguable record of their vaccination status. You can imagine how difficult it would be for someone from, say, Nigeria who wants to work in America. How are they going to prove to authorities, to travel agencies, etc., that they have been vaccinated by an authentic vaccine and that they are who they say they are? So this system gives them the power to do that.
And I might just add on that as well. With NFTs nowadays, people are used to the fact of buying NFTs and selling in a marketplace. This is different. This is like a private NFT. So essentially, that is linked to your KYC, to your profile, to you as an individual on the private blockchain of your blockchain. And then essentially, the NFT is linked to you. It can't be sold because it's linked to your number, and it can't actually get removed from your layer of blockchain. So there's a difference there between what people are familiar with as buying NFTs of, cyberpunks or rocks at the moment that are going through the roof. It's quite trendy at the moment. So this is a very different aspect and element of NFTs, and used, I would say, for a real world use case. I would say that this is the prime use case of NFTs, but it has moved on to this digital form of artwork.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point, Omar. And one of the differences between our organisation and a lot of other crypto organisations, that we really are motivated by using the blockchain to make a difference to people's lives. There's a great contrast between a piece of punk artwork and a COVID NFT. I mean, it's the same technology used for different goals.
Exactly. And we're not saying that we don't own some of this artwork in NFTs, but this is very different. We're using blockchain to its at its use purpose as well. Like, we've covered many areas of blockchain here, and we're making sure that we maximize blockchain technology. Okay, cool. Would you like to go on to data, the value of data?
Yeah, I would. I mean, underpinning the whole system, and the reason we can give the system away at no cost is because we're commercializing the data. There's this saying, the data is the new oil. And you just look at the commercial success of some of the big behemoth companies at the moment, Amazon, Facebook. Their market valuation is really all about the customer and customer data. And what we're able to do here is use blockchain technology to empower these people who are only earning $2 a day, $5 a day, empowering them to keep control of data, which is very valuable and potentially make a real difference to their lives. And they have ownership of it, and they have control of whether they want to share it and whether they want to get value from it. And why do governments care about it? Why do NGOs care about data? Imagine how much money in Australia, as I think I mentioned, we might spend 8% of our GDP on health. That's billions and billions of dollars a year. Now, ideally, you want to have a very good idea of where that money is going. How do I deploy those financial resources to get the best impact? How many lives can I save? Am I better off investing in this region or this disease versus another disease? So by getting this data, it really gives them the information they need to be smarter and getting a better investment, a better return on their investment in health. And same with NGOs. The Global Fund, they donate $4 billion US a year just for HIV, malaria and TB, $4 billion. And you can imagine the challenges they have when it comes to proving to donors and people like Bill Gates, who give a lot of money for them, how they can prove accurately where that money's gone. With a system like ours, they'll be able to at any time click on a button and go, okay, this many people have had this drug at this time in this area, and over time, this is what's happened to their health outcomes. And and healthcare is one of the biggest global expenses there is. Sadly, probably military is slightly higher, but apart from that, health is right up there. And to be able to have granular data that's real time is going to be something that's really going to be a game changer. Wow,
this is powerful. Just hearing what you were just saying there, that's exactly this is what excites me about the project. And I think that just sort of pivoting to the blockchain space, we've seen the trends in crypto, DeFi, NFTs this year, last year. One of the major things that hasn't been established yet, which is coming up, and the next trend is actually going to be data, decentralized data. So not many people are looking out for those data capture tools on the blockchain yet, but it is something that is trending. We're seeing it with some of our research firms and other partners. They're just directing us down this line, that this is where the piece of the puzzle is. And if you're able to, as you're saying, track the transactions of these big pharmaceutical companies, track where those funds are leading, and then the development, and then a behavioral change at the end of it as a success rate. It's just such a powerful tool. So very excited about this. Well done. Okay. Any other key things that you'd like to mention here? What about this? What about some of the statuses? What's rolling out at the moment? We've got some pilots rolling out at the moment in some key countries. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, that's a good thing to cover there. Thanks for reminding me about that, Omar. The good news is, like, we've actually got to the point of, we've got the tech developed to the point where it's ready to be used in the field. We did a pilot last year in Mumbai, focused on tuberculosis, but the COVID version, which is really the most pressing issue at the moment facing the world. There's been over 4 million deaths, I think, so far, and it's spreading around the world with the new Delta variant at lightning pace. So we're lucky we've got the COVID technology there ready, and we're going to be deploying that in a pilot in Cameroon with an NGO based there called Blessings Association for Women and Children. And that we'll be testing that one. But another one, which I think the listeners might find even more interesting, is one we're doing with one of Kenya's leading research universities called MMUST. They're a 17,000 student university in Kenya. And they are their goal is to be one of the premier research institutions in Africa. And we're just finalising an agreement with them to do a very interesting study in HIV. Now, people might be surprised about this, but in Africa, in a lot of these countries where people are poor, even though there is access to HIV medications, because they might only earn $2 a day, they're very reluctant to take a day off. They can be reluctant to take a day off work to walk to the clinic, pick up the medications. And so in one of the regions we're going to be doing the work, the incidence of HIV is around 15% of the adult population. That's right, 15%.
Wow.
But a good chunk of those people do not go for their medications, even though they've been diagnosed, even though the medications are there, they're lapsed patients. And so the university, the dean of medicine there, is very, very keen to collaborate with us to do a study to look at the impact on compliance long term of using token rewards to motivate people. Because whilst it might seem trivial to us, but to an African person who might earn their living selling little souvenirs at a market, or selling papayas, something like that, $2 is a lot of money. And if you can empower them and give them some resources and some reward for turning up for their medication, then you'll be saving their lives. And so we are going to, that's world-breaking study, that when we get the results, if we can show that by using cryptocurrency rewards, we can change behaviour and save lives, I mean, that will be an incredible research breakthrough. That will make global headlines, and that's something that we can all be very proud of once we get that done.
Totally, and crypto is the only resource that you can use to do this as well. Creating your own token economy, and DeFi savings accounts, because we're not only will that user get a fee or an incentive to take vaccines or turn up to get vaccinated, they can then implement that into a savings account, which we'll have embedded in the Immunify.life, called Immunify.savings, where they'll be getting yield as well. So then that becomes a saving account on top of their incentive. So amazing.
That's right. And when you think, the scale of the amount of money that some people are earning, this can become like their superannuation, their small pot of security that they have. And you can see the governments and NGOs are very enthusiastic about this. We can prove, or when we prove that this is an effective way of doing it, it's an opportunity for them to really set their healthcare agenda and align their strategy and put resources into rewarding the right behaviours. And same with doctors. This system, doctors and nurses can be rewarded for filling out and using the system. In Australia, for example, where I'm currently living, we have a sophisticated medical record system, but when you audit the data there, something like only 30% of the records are complete. So we have the capability to be able to monitor that and reward healthcare workers who are doing the right thing and are filling out the fields accurately and completely.
Wow. Powerful.
Can I just jump in there for a second? I think one of the things that really resonated with me in this whole incentivization reward thing was that you not only incentivize the staff that fill in the forms, but you're also in the POC incentivizing the lab to in fact do those tests and to provide them back to the doctor. So it's a full loop of incentivization, not just one touch with the patient, which really impressed me.
Yeah, actually, that's a good pickup, Tony. Thank you for that, because I didn't mention the fact that it is an integrated system. So the patient has access to the system, the clinics have access, the laboratory has access, the pharmacy, they have separate pharmacies, have access as well. So they're all the various elements of healthcare delivery are all linked to the same system and to the central patient record, which is linked to the patient's identity.
Mm-hmm. I think I might just add here, there will be some questions around this. I can feel it. I can feel that there's going to be questions around security here. So we're talking about having access. Everyone's going to have access, but is there compliance here that we have to be aware of?
Yeah, there are. Look, there are international standards for data privacy and security. The American one is HL7, I think. There's HIPAA guidelines as well, and the Europeans have got their own guidelines. And we will be compliant or are compliant with all the highest standards because, as you rightly say, there's nothing more sacred really than your own private medical history. And the last thing you want is for there to be any breaches in security or protocol, which is one of the reasons why blockchain is ideal. It's an ideal application because you get this decentralized storage of data that's really unhackable, and there's no better way really to store it.
Totally.
And the other point to make is, which I think I did mention earlier, but should remind everybody that every patient gets the opportunity to opt in or opt out with fully informed consent. So they have the choice. They can decide to part. Yeah, they're completely empowered. It's their data, and they get to own it, and they get to control it, and they get to benefit from it.
Exactly. Wow. And I think that's the key point there. And also you touched on as well, the blockchain side of it. We have private blockchains, which I don't see many people. It was a trend in 2017, but having the private layer on top of the public layer where the user then opts in or opts out, accepting if someone requests their health records, they can accept or deny. So you have the power essentially. And there's another thing there with the NFTs, because your health record is going to be an NFT. It can't be edited by a new doctor. Each individual NFT, which is a health record from that doctor, is going to be embedded as an NFT and unmutable, and it's unedited. So all you can do is just stack. It's called a stacking effect of NFTs. So doctors will be adding on and on and on. So then we're not going to have any counterfeits or manipulations of drugs or whatnot. So very powerful tool. Okay, and then oh wow, 30 minutes in. Ooh, doesn't feel like that at all. Cameroon.
Yep.
This is an interesting study.
Oh, okay.
It's an interesting partnership, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What would you like to know about Cameroon?
We have done some interesting. Oh, maybe we should. Is that going to be a release for later on? Is it? Sorry. I was going to talk about, because we've already done. We just went off on a bit of a tangent there, but we're talking about the pilots that we've already done in Kenya. Should we touch on the Cameroon pilot with the COVID?
Yeah. Well, yes, absolutely. Yeah, we've got. Well, I mentioned briefly the NGO called Blessings Women and Children NGO.
Oh, yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and we will be doing a COVID pilot there. We've also got a couple of leading physicians who are based in Douala, which is the commercial capital of Cameroon, who are already evaluating the software at the moment. So yeah, we've got the two countries, Kenya and Cameroon. We're actually speaking to the medical director of the Commonwealth Secretariat, or the Commonwealth Medical Association, last week. The listeners might know that Commonwealth of Nations, I think there's 54 members of that organisation, the British Commonwealth, and they represent, I think, a couple of billion people around the world. And the doctor we're talking to is the head of the medical association. He's based in Nigeria, and he was saying, well, Guy, don't forget Nigeria. That's 24% of the sub-Saharan African population. So don't just focus on Kenya and Cameroon. You should really look at doing some work there. So we will be adding them to the equation as well, and that relationship seems to be progressing quite well. We haven't got anything formalised with them yet, but they're very interested in what we're doing.
Yeah, and also Nigeria right now seems to be the hub of crypto. As past news, there was Nigeria, they were creating their own stable coin and then also becoming a crypto-friendly nation. So that's very exciting. And you do see a lot of rollouts there with, IOHK is a big one. They're targeting Africa. So that's something we could get into at a later date. That's why we are using Cardano and networking with IOHK and working with them very closely. A few of our essential elements of this we are going to be using IOHK for that, especially with the KYC front. So Atala Prism, we're in talks with about that solution. So very exciting stuff.
I should just add, while we're on the topic of Nigeria, I should mention that we've had some very good discussions with a company called InterSwitch. They are Nigerian based, but also they're in Kenya, and they are a financial services company. They're very large. And they, for example, I think they've got 20 million customers in Nigeria, and they provide debit cards. 22 million. And so they are very enthusiastic about what we're doing. And you can imagine the situation where we are able to provide people that don't have bank accounts but have started to build a balance of IMM tokens in their wallet, a way of actually using those and redeeming them for things like firewood or petrol or clothes and food. So they can see the synergies, and so can we. And so that's a very encouraging potential partnership that's in the pipeline there.
Yeah, and they're owned by Visa, aren't they? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that they have a Visa have a large stake in that company, and that's 22 million users of their card. And they also have a footprint in several different African countries, 3 different African countries, and also Germany. So a great partner, potential partner.
Great potential. Yeah. Okay. I think we've covered off everything there. Now, I think we're running a bit out of time here. We want to save some space for the community to ask some questions. So the project is nothing without its team. So tell us about your team, Guy.
Yeah, well, we're lucky. The strategy I've had with the team is because we're a global business. I've tried to have a team which is global as well, and a diverse team. It's weighted fairly heavily towards healthcare because we have a very strong tech development partner in LTI. I think I talked about them already. So I've got Daniel Kenny, who's our COO, who has worked for an ASX listed Australian Stock Exchange listed healthcare company for the last 7 years. He's very, very experienced. He worked all around the world for big multinational pharma companies, including Roche. We've got a lady called Kinza in Geneva who's worked with NGOs, including the Global Fund, the one that donates the $4 billion a year. And she's got great access, a huge network of governments and NGOs, and so she's working for us there, opening the doors. We've got Sanjoy D'Souza, who is one of the world's leading experts on disease management programs. His work has been published in international medical journals, more than half a dozen publications, and he's done multi-country implementations of disease management programs, mainly in Asia. So he's a really great asset. And we talked about Nigeria before. Well, Dola Adowu, who actually works for the NHS, the National Health Scheme in the UK, but he's originally from Nigeria and has got very, very good contacts there. And he is looking after our implementation in Africa. And he reports to MB Tebatembo, who is originally from Cameroon. He's from oil and gas background and infrastructure, and he has a huge network of government leaders and business people right across Africa. They're very experienced, very senior veteran. And leaving the best till last, Diego.
Diego, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Yes. Do you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I am Diego Cruces. I am from South America, Argentina, and it's a great place to having been born and raised because crypto is it's very important for us here. I mean, the centralized things that crypto can do, it's of utmost important for a developing country like the one I happen to live. And I'm a software engineer, been working on the blockchain space for the last, say, 10 years approx. Back in 2011, I got in love with the white paper from Satoshi Nakamoto. And from there, I went down the rabbit hole. So that's pretty much it, who I am.
Thank you, Diego. And Diego has been building our infrastructure. He's got knowledge behind, of course, Ethereum, all types of blockchain, Cardano as well. And looking forward for the community to be talking to him at a later date. I mean, we could have some questions at the end of this, but we'll go in-depth into the technical elements of it at a later date. Great. Okay. Thanks, Diego. Thank you, Guy. Now, I mean, we have touched on most of the partnerships there, Guy. And as you did say that it's very healthcare centric at the moment. When it comes to the blockchain, Immunify.life has got a full range of crypto advisors that have worked on huge projects. I mean, the list goes on. We'll definitely be announcing that later, but they've been helping us, working with us to build this project, the tokenomics, and then also with the up and coming partnerships. We do have an Oracle now, one of Cardano's only ones that you guys saw. That was an official partnership yesterday, Charlie 3. They'll be helping us price freeze between Ethereum and Cardano. So that's very exciting. But I think one tech development, I mean, of course, we're also talking with IOHK as well. So when it comes to building robust infrastructures, that's why we're on Cardano, also their network effect in Africa. But I think, Guy, LTI is one that I don't think we've touched on, but I think it's very vital to this project.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point, because the reason why they bring the balance. We've got a very implementation, healthcare-focused team, but we've also got the big 200-pound gorilla in the room is LTI. They're Larsen Tubro Infotech. They're a $1 billion plus tech company. They're international. They're in over 32 countries. They've got big clients like banks, airlines, Amazon, Johnson & Johnson, one of the big healthcare companies. And they've done what I really like is they've delivered blockchain projects in Africa before, and they are, we're partnering with them, and they are overseeing our technology development, and most likely will be our tech development partners. Although we do have some other very big, significant players we're talking to at the moment who are very interested in what we're doing in Africa, and they may also be in a position to help us with our tech. But we've got the tech to the point now where it's ready to go in the field. But when we're talking really about tech development now, it's scaling it, because you can imagine the technical challenges when you're scaling up a blockchain and scaling up a solution which you intend to use to capture hundreds of millions of people's records. not to be taken lightly.
No, totally. That's right. And again, Cardano is a solution. And then, of course, layer 2 solutions on Ethereum, cross-chain interoperability. And also with LTI, Lenny, the AI part of LTI is very important as well, which Tony, would you like to give us a little bit of a background?
Lenny's a linguistic AI. So effectively, he's just like Siri. You can talk to him and he does a whole lot of data analysis and then can give you, verbal prompts and responses to your questions. So he's a very, very smart and powerful AI. He's actually ranked as one of the top AIs globally at the moment. So we're very lucky to be working with them to effectively use Lenny. And I know Lenny's been currently used on pharmaceutical trial data sets as well. So it's certainly the perfect partner.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, that's right. We haven't even touched on it. It's a whole topic on its own, but the whole idea of using Lenny for case finding, you'll be able to troll through millions of patients' records and instantaneously find patients with the medical histories that match criteria that you're looking for either identifying risk profiles for people or for finding people who are suitable for clinical studies. There's a million applications, And as we said before, governments and NGOs will be able to just ask Lenny, tell me the problems with my major concerns with implementing HIV treatments, and it'll be able to be that simple for these organisations to have really great granular data in real time.
Wow, powerful.
I also thought it was quite interesting. I thought it was quite interesting with Lenny as well, how Guy, you were talking about actually being able to scan paper documents, and Lenny was able to understand the drawings, cognitively think about those drawings, about what they represent, and then actually put them into digital data and then use them for its part of its information matrix, which is hugely powerful.
Yeah, there's the whole suite of capabilities that it's got.
I guess we don't talk about a lot, but it's certainly going to revolutionize healthcare, and it's going to give the prompts to the right people at the right time, and also make decisions that aren't driven by factors other than, the common goal of healthcare and what's best for patients. It's a very, very powerful and equitable tool.
Okay, guys, I think we'll have to wrap that up now. There's a lot of information there that we've gone through. We've covered a lot of ground, more than I would have thought we would. So that was a great conversation and a good intro into Immunify.life. I want to thank you, Guy, for being here, creating this. And it's very exciting, your vision and how we've implemented it onto blockchain. And there's a lot happening. So thank you very much for that, Guy.
You're welcome, and thank you for all those people who are listening, and thanks also for your enthusiasm and participation in the group. I do get in there occasionally, and it's great to see the interactions going. And thanks also to Tony and Omar for setting this up, and also to Diego as well for his work.
Yeah, and thank you, community, again. You guys have been great. You've kept the chat alive. We've got a lot of marketing stuff happening very soon, a lot of chats and influencers and IDOs coming up as well. So we know this thing's going to grow, and also being in Cardano as well. We're at very early stage. So thank you very much for your enthusiasm, as Guy said, and just being part of the community, because that's what we want. And this is just to keep growing the community and just being part of that. So apologies if the team don't come in as often as we can. We try, but building this conglomerate of a beast does take a lot. So we will be monitoring and getting some more community managers and moderators in there as well. So that's exciting. So I think for the last 10 to 15, also, thanks for to the moderators that are already in there as well, Piri, and everyone that has been joining in. So I think we should open up to the community for a few questions. If you guys have got anything around the project, keep it positive, of course. And if not, we'll cover some like an FAQ or some more questions in the chat. So would love to have some questions now. So Fred, I'm going to put you in onto the stage. You have a question there, Fred. Please go ahead. And don't forget the mute thing at the beginning. There's always a mute thing that you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, there we go. Sorry. So I know you already spoke to a little bit about revenue, of how the company will get revenues, but as far as on an individual basis, you spoke too about how a user can control what data is used. Can you mention a little bit about how individual users might be able to be rewarded, maybe with tokens for allowing the use of their data, and how controllable that will be? And then my second question real quick would be, there must be so many dozens and upon dozens of possibilities with blockchain that you probably considered you had to limit yourself to what you were going to implement first. So if you can maybe mention that a bit, and that's appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for that. Those questions there, Fred. Well, the revenue one is a very interesting one. One of the points I'll make about that is we don't yet fully understand the relationship between the quantity of the reward and the behavior. And that's one of the things we're going to be examining in detail when we do the work with the Emillio University in Kenya. We'll be doing different arms of that research to look at what's the quantum of reward that you require to really get the significant behavior change. But basically at the beginning of the process, every patient will be given the opportunity when they're enrolled through the SMS to be able to say, do you want to participate in the program? And are you comfortable with this kind of data being shared? And if they say yes, then they will be able to participate. And then the reward system will be one that will be worked out in conjunction with the stakeholders, for example, like the donor organisations who are providing the medications, or if it's a government-run system, then the government would have a decision about what sort of rewards they want and how often they'd be done and for what behaviours. And there's all transparent. There's communication two-way between the patients and the clinics and the institution. So it could be simple as an SMS. Do you want to participate in this study? For example, then this is the reward that you would get. And for things like COVID, where there's a predefined protocol, then there would be a predefined reward, and it would be part of the recruitment process. If you come back for your second vaccination, then you'll get 2 immune tokens, for example. Now, what was the other question? Prioritizing?
Right, because the possibilities are endless with this new technology. So just, I don't know, it's a hard question. It's pretty broad.
Well, look, 100% right. My head spins a bit about this too. And also there's so many diseases. But I think we're being driven by the health priorities that are there at the moment. And the ones that really attract my attention are the ones that are urgent and we can have high impact on. And so the COVID one is urgent. And this new Delta strain, which is very highly infectious, but preventable, is one that we really are looking at doing. And that's the one that the Commonwealth are particularly interested in. And there are so that's one of our priorities. And the other one I think that really attracts me is the HIV one, because it just seems such a tragedy that you've got people there who there is medication earmarked for them, but just for circumstances or because of lack of financial resources or in time, they just do not turn up for their medication. And so that is an example where you've got a disease which has only got one outcome. If you're not treated, it's a final outcome for everybody who has HIV. So there we have an opportunity to provide rewards that can drive that behaviour and close stop that unfortunate cycle and make a difference pretty much immediately. So they are sort of the 2 priorities for us, and getting the proof cases, and then also working with big agencies and organisations, whether it's a Cardano, an IHK, or whether it's the Commonwealth, to get scale, because it's a race against time as well. I mean, COVID is a pressing issue now. There's no point in coming up with a solution in 3 years' time when there's been, millions more people dying from it. So we've got to get the implementation happening as soon as we can. But it's a very good question. It's not an easy. It's a nice problem to have, mind you, having lots of opportunities. But
can I just speak a bit more to that? And we're definitely, with the COVID passport system, it's very topical now. And as you say, Guy, it's there's a huge pressing need, and time is of the essence. So that is what's driving us forward at a rapid rate of knots. But that said, when we engage with people like in Kenya, we find these huge populations, and 45,000 people with HIV in this one area, and so you start to actually just dive into these problems. And now, when we're looking at the behavioural change that we're trying to affect on home treatment at HIV. And you're talking about, incentivizing people to take their pills and all that kind of thing. And then last night, for example, we had a guy come in who is actually distributing to 100,000 dialysis patients in Malaysia. And so, there's an opportunity, and he just came straight back and said, well, what you're doing with the behavioral change in Kenya is exactly what I'm dealing with, needing to have behavioral change in Malaysia. So you are right in that the scope of this business is absolutely huge. And effectively, we're focusing on this COVID thing, but then also going in those places of least resistance. We have these huge university partners like EMUST and other people that are helping us drive these particular causes in these particular regions. So it's very exciting to see it expand across different disease.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Fred. is it possible? Does that answer your question there, Fred?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being part of the community. We have another person here. Paul, who's got a question. I think we'll have one more after this as well. So if you guys have any questions, please ask away. But of course, we are going to be in the Telegram as well for any questions moving forward. So Paul, please, your question. Thank you. Paul, you there? Don't forget the mute thing. That gets people. Please unmute.
Thank you so much. I'm Paul. I'm a medical doctor in Queensland, Australia. I trained in Nigeria, so I understand what the problem you guys are trying to solve. I just want to say thank you to you. My question is this: will health insurance be part of your platform, of your package? Because health insurance is a major issue in Nigeria and by extension Africa. All right, because most of the time we pay out of pocket, which is not an easy thing to do. And comparing my experience in Australia, we have Medicare here, which is universal health insurance. We have private insurance. So are you guys going to incorporate health insurance into your platform? That's number one. My second question is this. When is your IDO? Because I plan to buy big.
Thank you for those questions.
Yeah, very, very good questions. And what a great addition to the group. That's really good, Paul, that you're part of it. The health insurance issue is an interesting one. I mean, we haven't thought about health insurance offerings at this point, but I think it's a very interesting one. I think our target audience is for these uninsured, for everybody in the population, but primarily the uninsured patients, the ones who might be beneficiaries of the international aid. They're getting the medications from donor organisations, and they may not even have a bank account. So that's a major target. But as you know, Nigeria is a very, very big country, and 24% of the people in sub-Saharan Africa, 200 million people live there. So that's our first priority, is to target those kind of patients. But I think the idea of health insurance is a very interesting one for sort of later down the track. What was the second part? Oh, the idea. I
can fill that in if you want to, Guy.
Sure.
So currently, Paul, we are going through a private round sale. This is just for some VCs and some other people that have been interested from the get-go. So we're just finalizing that. We're just getting on board. As what we've talked about here, there were some current news, topical partnerships that we want to document and get those MOUs signed off. And that we'll be using that for the IDO, and also just announcing that around the IDO as well. Also we've got there's one thing that's pressing. There's one partnership, a key partnership here that we're just waiting on. And we don't want to release without that. So what we're doing with the IDO, we are working with CardStarter right now. We're probably going to be doing a dual IDO as well on another platform. We're also watching Cardano very closely, as Alonzo and Mainnet and smart contracts have already started rollouts, next month. That might change things due to a lot of these IDO platforms are going to have to pivot over to the Cardano Mainnet chain. So there may be some delays around that, but long story short, we are looking at launching on this IDO. I would say in September, end of September is what we're looking at. For the CardStarter, again, there might be some issues with the pivoting over. They do have their own internal ERC20 converter, but I don't think it's been tested yet. Maybe they have been doing it on the testnet, but we've also been talking to IOHK regarding their ERC20 converter as well. So we're just seeing we've got a lot. It's a very good problem to have, as we've stated. But so I hope that gives you a bit of an answer there, and just finalizing where we are as a project when it comes to IDO. We want to launch as soon as possible. We've got a lot of interest here, especially in the Cardano and also from our community. But we just want to build a bit more and get some of these key partnerships teed off and all the dots signed and the T's crossed, and then we're all good to go.
Yeah, but I'd say, Omar, I would agree that if everything goes to plan, as we expect, end of September is what we would say at the moment we're working to.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Paul, for that question. Thank you very much. I hope to see you in the community. We've got one last question, and then this will be the final one till we wrap this up. And Mowgli, got here. You can. I think that's your name still. Have you got a question there?
Oh, hi. Sorry, I was on mute. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. You might have brushed on this, but you were mentioning how the incentive of people getting the tokens for getting vaccinated, they will get rewarded. How will they be able to spend this? Like, where would they be able to spend it? And like, is it like, how would that work?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I might have mentioned we have been in deep discussions with an organisation called InterSwitch, who are a financial services provider. So they're part owned by Visa, and they are in Kenya, and their main offices in Nigeria, where they have 22 million customers, but they also got a footprint in Nigeria. So for the initial pilots, we're working on a solution with them. So that there will be a link between the crypto wallet that's automatically issued to the patient and the healthcare worker, and they'll be able to work to integrate that into a debit card that will then be able to be used for purchasing household items, etc.
Mm-hmm. And that is at the forefront. So that is our solution, our current solution. Just think of it like a crypto.com, where you have your wallet there, and then you can allocate funds to that card, or whatever, like even BlockFi, they're developing that as well. But then just going down the track a little, we will be on the ground and running in all these countries. So creating a marketplace on the internet, or let's say on their phone, that's another solution there, where they will accept M tokens or cryptocurrencies through our platform. And then again, adding dApps and marketplaces on top of that, that's a solution. But again, we're talking down the track while we get grand adoption.
Yeah, so the InterSwitch is the first one, but we've also been in discussions with some telcos as well, because you can see they're a natural fit as well, because there's a couple of big organisations there like Airtel, who are in most of the African countries, and you can easily see the situation where these are all mobile phone account holders, and having a link between their airtime minutes and their tokens would be an easy thing to do. So that's another one that we're looking at.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the question. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, team. I think we're going to have to cut it there. It's been over an hour of talking. We've covered a lot of ground here. We'll definitely be doing these on a regular basis. We've also got some AMAs with, as we say, Card Starter. That's the announcement, guys. Next Friday, the major announcement is we are having a larger AMA with the Card Starter team. So please bring yourself and friends along. There will be a big community there, lots of questions, and essentially it's Atash, who has got a medical background and is going to be talking to Guy and a few members of the team, and again doing a larger introduction to Immunify.life. But then we're going to start, I think, bridging to the more tech side of it, Cardano, smart contracts, how this infrastructure and the Immunify.life ecosystem is going to roll this out. Because we've talked about the top layer. Now we've got to go into the bottom layer as well, but we'll slowly get into that and introduce that element as well. I want to thank the community. I want to thank our team that have come on board today and had a bit of a chat. First one, very exciting. I really enjoyed this, guys. So thank you very much. Thank you, Guy. Any last words?
No, but thank you for those people who attended today. We're just at the start of a very exciting journey here, and it's going to be a journey where we're going to make a difference to people's lives and their health, and hopefully also, apart from doing good for around the world, we can be doing good for our bank balances as well.
Thank you very much, team, and talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Bye.